So, Ray, you tell us what you think, how this fits in to the historical patterns that you've been studying so carefully.
Okay. Just so everybody knows, I'm a global macro investor, so all the liquid markets in the world, and I've been doing that for about 50 years, and I am just that makes me not ideological as much as just sort of practical. How does the machine work? And I learned, and that's politics as well as economics, because they're two tied together. And I learned that many of the things that surprised me were things that didn't happen in my lifetime, but happened before my lifetime. And that everything that it's coming to me is new, that hasn't happened into my lifetime, I have to study. And that's by studying the Great Depression, we were able to anticipate the 2008 financial crisis. So there's a mechanistic reason. There are cause-effect relationships. And three big things that are happening in our lifetime that haven't happened before, I needed to examine. And those three things, I think if we focus on them, they pretty much encompass most. Those three things are, first, an enormous amount of debt creation, which is debt that's monetized, that has to do with the value of money throughout history. It's been very much the case, in all cases throughout history, that when there's not enough money, there is then the creation of money. Rome, they had gold coins and they put other metals in it and they depreciated it and so on. So we have something that is going on with money, credit, and inflation. That's due to the fact that we don't have enough real money. Okay, that's one fact. The second is internal conflict. By measures, I like to have measures, and so there are lots of measures in this book. We have populism of the left and populism of the right that are irreconcilable differences. History shows that when the causes that people are behind are more important to them than the system is in jeopardy. And so if you look at populism, or you look at the size of the wealth gaps, or the values gaps, they're the largest since the 1930 to 45 period, and it's understandable. And the third is the great power conflict. We began our world order in 1945, and the pattern repeats all the time. There's a war. The winners of the war determine the world order, the rules of the game. That's why the United Nations is in New York and the IMF and World Bank are in Washington. And then you have the world order and the dominant power. The United States had 80% of the world's money. Money was gold. And it had half the world's economy, and it had a monopoly on military power. And as that power changes, then you have great power conflict. And so you're having these three things happen again for basically the same mechanistic reasons. And if you go back through history, you see that they repeat over it. So they have this cause-effect. So I think that when we look at the future and we calculate it for just year by year, we're now in 2022. We're in the part of, they always do it the same way. You have a downturn and they print money and credit because that's the way that you stimulate the economy and so on. It produces inflation. They tighten monetary policy. There's a trade-off. And there we are. Now, then you take that forward and you look at 2022. There's a political thing going on. We're going to have midterm elections in the United States. We're going to have a change in government, the 20th People's Congress in China, and so on. There's a political thing going on. And then you take 2023 and 2024, and with this populism, you're going to have possibly irreconcilable differences. In other words, it's entirely possible that neither side accepts losing in the domestic. And so when you have that going on, you need the historical context. So mechanistically, that very much looks the same.